Hi there, fourth graders. Let's continue Poppy today on chapter 2. Remember in chapter 1, Poppy's friend Ragweed was taken away by that mean old owl. And now on chapter 2, it's called Poppy Remembers, and we're going to see how Poppy is feeling now. A stinging sensation on her nose woke Poppy. She touched a paw to the sore spot and winced. Then she looked about in the dark and shook her head with confusion. Where was she? Under a piece of rotten bark? Where was the bark? On Bannock Hill, what was she doing there? She had come with her boyfriend Ragweed. Where was Ragweed? No sooner did Poppy ask herself that than the full horror of what occurred rushed upon her. Ragweed dead. Eaten, probably. Poppy closed her eyes. The sheer ghastliness of that thought made it hard for her to breathe. Then, recalling how close she had come to the same fate, she checked herself for injuries. Though her plump, round belly was white, the rest of her fur was orange-brown. She had large ears and dark, almost round eyes, full whiskers, tiny nose, pink toes, and tail. Even for a deer mouse, Poppy was rather dainty. Upon examination, everything except the nose seemed to be intact. She stole a look out from under the bark and considered her situation. She was on Bannock Hill alone and without permission. Oh, how she wished she were home. From her earliest days, just a few moons ago, her parents had been teaching their litter about Mr. Ocox. She recalled how they lined up, all 12 of them, to take instruction. Mr. Ocox has been around for ages, her father, Lungwort, lectured in his sternest voice. He was a rather stout fellow, with elegantly curled whiskers and slightly protruding front teeth. His crowning glory was an ivory thimble he had found and which ever since he'd worn as a cap. Mr. Ocox has been here longer than any mouse's living memory, Lungwort continued. The territory around Dimwood belongs to him. Mr. Ocox is king. And he protects us, said sweet Cicely, Lungwort's wife and Poppy's mother. That's the most important thing. Sweet Cicely was a small creature, even for a deer mouse, with soft pale eyes and a nervous habit of flicking at her ears with her paws as if they were dusty. Protect us from what? Poppy remembered Ragweed asking. An outsider he had taken to hanging around the family. He was always asking for answers. Why do deer mice live here and not there? Why do you folks eat this and not that? Why is your fur dark on top and white on the bottom when mine is golden? Why couldn't it be the other way around? Though these constant questions could be irritating, Poppy had to admit that she'd often wondered about the answers. Curiosity, however, was not something her parents encouraged. Poppy admired Ragweed's persistence. Mr. Ocox protects us from creatures that eat us, Lungwort answered gravely. Raccoons, foxes, skunks, weasels. One by one, he displayed pictures of these animals. Most important, he protects us from porcupines. Like this one, he held up a lurid portrait of a huge black-nosed beast covered with gruesome spikes. Blood seemed to drip from his snarling mouth. The young mice gasped in dread. Porcupines are our particular enemies, Lungwort insisted. There is nothing porcupines won't do to catch mice. What would they do with us then? Acorn, one of Poppy's sisters, asked in a trembling voice. First, they shoot their barbed quills into you, Lungwort said. Then they trample you, sweet Cicely added. Finally, Lungwort concluded, they break you into little bits and gobble you up. Now, it was terror the young mice felt, all except Ragweed. Lungwort, he demanded, other than that picture, you ever seen a porcupine, a real one? Not precisely, Lungwort snapped, but let me tell you something, Ragweed. I'd be more than thrilled to get through my whole life without ever seeing one. After all, Mr. Ocox has seen porcupines, often, in private conversations with me. Mine, these are actual personal experiences I can verify. He informed me that porcupines are not only extremely dangerous, but also devilishly sly. Take note with this, that this judgment comes from a powerful meat-eating bird. The point is, Mr. Ocox protects us from porcupines. It was he, in fact, who was kind enough to educate us all about them as well in these pictures. Now remember, ragweed was taken by the owl, and this is a flashback right now that Poppy is remembering the conversation that she had and her family had about owls and other dangerous animals. So this is an author's craft called flashback, when you go back in time and to explain something, and then you will jump back into the current time. Then, how come you have to worry about this dude Ocox too? Ragweed pressed. Struggling to control his temper, fuming, he replied, Mr. Ocox protects us from vicious porcupines only when we accept him as our ruler. That's why. All he requires is that we ask his permission whenever we move beyond the immediate area of Gray House. We have freedom to go about the old orchard up to Glitter Creek. We can do the same for Farmer Lamount's fields, at our own risk, of course. Life is full of danger. Go beyond, however, and we need to get Mr. Ocox's permission. What's his reason? Ragweed persevered. Sweet Cicely, brushing her ears, sighed with exasperation. How Poppy, her own daughter, could take up with such an ill-mannered ruffian was beyond her understanding. All the same, she said, Ragweed, as Mr. Ocox has patiently explained to my husband, he needs to know if we're moving about so he won't mistake us for porcupines. Asking permission is a small sacrifice to pay for our safety. Longwork nodded his agreement. That owl, he pointed out, has incredible vision and hearing. He can hear or see anything, even in the dark. And a good thing, too, porcupines prowl at night, move like lightning, Mr. Ocox says, shoot quills without asking questions, kill without mercy. No, my boy, we don't argue with Mr. Ocox. He's our protector. If we disobey him, break his rules, and I can't say I blame him either, he gets upset. What'll he do then? Asked Leaf, one of Poppy's brothers. He'll eat you, Longworth replied briskly, as he put away the picture of the porcupine. And, he continued, it happens. During the past year, we have lost 15 family members. It may be presumed that all failed to ask Mr. Ocox for permission to go somewhere. The children were shocked into silence. Ragweed, however, spoke out again. Hey, Pops, didn't I hear you say porcupines are huge? You saw the picture, Longworth responded, and don't call me Pops. So then, porcupines are bigger than us, right? A lot bigger, Sweet Cicely said, emphasizing the lot. Well, old lady, Ragweed kept on, if them there porcupines are so huge and we're so small, and if this dude owl has such amazing sight, how come he might confuse us mice with them, their dude porcupines? Know what I'm saying? An indignant Sweet Cicely looked at her husband. Longworth sputtered. Ragweed, for your information, proper grammatical uses is those porcupines, not them there porcupines. And before I'm thinking about it, if you intend to court my daughter, I'll thank you to groom your hair properly when you get up in the morning. As for that earring you've taken to wearing, I don't like it. Not one bit. This family is committed to keeping up mice values and is opposed to stupid questions. With that, Longworth stalked away, tail whipping about in agitation. On Bannock Hill, Poppy remembered it all. She also remembered it was Ragweed who insisted they come up the hill, but that he absolutely refused to ask Mr. Ocox's permission to do so. Perhaps, then, what occurred, horrible as it had been, had served Ragweed right. Then and there, Poppy vowed she would never leave home again. The difficulty was that at that moment she was far from home, frightened and alone.